Lesson 133. In this lesson, we learn a new verb, and that's supero, which means conquer. Let's jump into our exercises. In exercise 1, we have two clauses, one before quod and one after. In the first clause, decidero is the verb, superare is an infinitive that means to conquer, and insulas is the direct object. Magnas is an adjective of size or quantity that describes insulas. So the first clause says, I want to conquer the large islands. In the second clause, habent is the verb. There's no other word to be the subject, so we need to use the word they that's included in habent. They refers back to the islands in the first clause. And we have two direct objects, argentum and aurumque. So number 1 will say, I want to conquer the large islands because they have silver and gold. In number 2, superant is the verb, filii is the subject, mali is an adjective describing filii, reginae is a genitive singular possessing filii, and silvam is the direct object. So number 2 will say, the bad sons of the queen are conquering the forest, or the queen's bad sons are conquering the forest. In number 3, superamus is the verb, incolas is the direct object, insularum is a genitive plural possessing incolas, and we have two ablatives of means, gladiis and scutisque. So number 3 will say, we are conquering the inhabitants of the islands with swords and shields. In number 4, superant is the verb, weary is the subject, insularum is a genitive plural that's possessing weary, and patriam is the direct object. So number 4 says, the men of the islands are conquering the homeland. In number 5, servat is the verb, murus is the subject, walidus is an adjective describing murus, and oppidum is the direct object. So number 5 will say, a strong wall is guarding the town. In number 6, we have two clauses. In the first clause, sunt is the verb. There are two subjects, weary and feminaeque. Patriae is a genitive singular possessing weary and feminaeque, and laeti is a predicate adjective. So the first clause says, the men and women of the homeland are not happy. In the second clause, habent is the verb. There's no other word to be the subject, so we'll need to use the word they that's included in habent. The word they refers back to the men and women from the first clause. Numquam is an adverb, and kibum is the direct object. So number 6 will say, the men and women of the homeland are not happy because they never have food. In number 7, potes means you are able. It's being negated by non. Pugnare is an infinitive that means to fight. Viros is the direct object. Magnos is an adjective describing viros, and silwai is a genitive singular that's possessing viros. Sine kibo aquaque is a prepositional phrase that has two objects. So number 7 will say, without food and water, you are not able to fight the great men of the forest. In number 8, damos is the verb, dona is the direct object, semper is an adverb, reginae is an indirect object, and insularum is a genitive plural that's possessing reginae. So number 8 will say, we always give gifts to the queen of the islands. In number 9, we have two clauses. In the first clause, servant is the verb, filii is the subject, reginae is a genitive singular that's possessing filii, and oppida is the direct object. So the first clause will say, the sons of the queen are guarding the towns, or the queen's sons are guarding the towns. In the second clause, amant is the verb. There's no other word to be the subject, so we'll need to use the word they. They refers back to the sons of the queen from the first clause, and patriam is the direct object. So number 9 will read like this, the sons of the queen are guarding the towns because they love the homeland, or the queen's sons are guarding the towns because they love the homeland. In number 10, we have the word said, and there are two clauses. In the first clause, amo is the verb. It's being negated by non. Laborare is an infinitive that means to work, and in agris is a prepositional phrase. So the first clause will say, I do not like to work in the fields. In the second clause, aro is the verb, agros is the direct object, and cotidie is the adverb. So number 10 as a whole will say, I do not like to work in the fields, but I plow the fields daily.